Hello ladies and gents, I'm the Dapper Rat, and this video is going to be a little different. There's no script today or anything like that. I still haven't fully thought this idea through, so like this is much more of an open dialogue, more so than my other videos where it's me proposing a solution or an issue and then seeing what you guys think. But Dark and Darker has made the game solo self-found for the first 2 weeks. Which basically means that there's no marketplace to buy items or gear from other players. Now, the marketplace has been a huge part of Dark and Darker for a while, for quite a long while to be honest. But it might actually be at the cost of gameplay for a lot of people. And by a lot of people, I would say probably 20 to 30%. I believe SDF is on. SDF being one of the developers and stuff like that. They've talked about how like half of the player base is in Squire lobbies, which means that they don't bring any gear into the dungeon, which is interesting. Basically, High Roller has been untouched for the most, or not untouched, but is not a popular game mode. It's a minority that plays it, a large minority, but a minority nonetheless. And from what I understand is that High Roller players have been struggling to find value in the game in a lot of different ways because gear is kind of worthless. I mean, you can get good gear and then sell it for big money, but that big money means less and your gear means less because of it. You could go onto the marketplace and get any gear you want and just fully max out, which is where solo self-found comes in. It seems that solo self-found would not necessarily add a gameplay loop, but make it more exciting. And what I mean by that is that because you have to find your gear, you have to find it, which means if you find good gear, then bringing that gear back into the dungeon is extremely like anxiety inducing. But it also technically makes you stronger than your peers if you find a really good piece of gear. It also somewhat solves issues like how high druids can scale their agility or strength. It doesn't fully solve that issue. They can still do it relatively reliably, but less reliably than before. And also the big one is that warlocks would have a much harder time stacking magical healing, which could be like a soft fix or a soft patch to the warlock issue, where you just cast Curse of Pain, Power of Sacrifice, and heal indefinitely for a crazy amount of HP. But once again, it doesn't remove it entirely. That build is still possible. It would just be way more rare, especially because magical healing is a rare stat to begin with. Not a lot of pieces of armor have it, and I'm not even sure if you can get it as like an extra bonus. You probably can. I've never seen stuff where I'm not a big warlock player. So two of the largest problem children struggle in solo self-found because they essentially rely on their gear. But there's also other characters that rely on stat bonuses that could struggle a lot. Correct me if I'm wrong because I'm not a rogue main, but I do think rogues rely heavily on true damage, so whether that be true magical or true physical, just because it punctures armor completely and it upgrades their DPS by a fucking shit ton, especially because they don't do a crap ton of damage outright. And the reason that that's not good is because I think most would agree that I'd rather go against a rogue that does a crazy amount of melee damage than say go against a mosquito rogue, because even if I die in dungeon, the mosquito rogue is just way more annoying. But I guess you could say that, you know, the fucking, I think it's called landmine rogue, the rogue that can DPS you like to oblivion, is also quite frustrating. So making all these stats more rare because you can't just go onto the marketplace and purchase them doesn't solve, but it lessens the chance that you're gonna run into any of these problematic builds, or it makes it much more rare. But then there's the other thing, it also makes going dungeoning way more valuable, because killing somebody and getting their good gear would be so much more rewarding if you know that you like that person's not gonna hop out and then just go and buy the exact same gear. It's honestly possible that you would take their gear, go put on the market, and that same guy buys the exact same gear that he just lost off of you to the guy that he lost it to. So then the question becomes, do you remove the marketplace for the better of the game? Before you fucking scream at me, let me just once again say I haven't fully thought this through. But what massive parts of the game are lost by getting rid of the marketplace? You could say that because it's harder to make builds, that there's less expression of these builds and stuff like that and what you can use. But also alternatively, you can say that it puts more emphasis on luck, because running the dungeon with luck based items to try and get better loot could be very worthwhile, especially if luck could increase your chances of not just getting better gear, but potentially getting better modifiers on said gear. So, you know, the luck stat's a bit iffy. There's a bunch here, but with playing solo self-found and actually properly, you know, trying to sit down and think about it, I'm struggling to see a reason to run the marketplace. And this is coming from the guy that loved playing the market. I was the guy that would buy up all the wolf pelt and all the cave troll pelt and whatever right at the start of the season, and then sell it back to you at a mocked up price whenever the bag dropped, the gold coin bag. So, or I'm also the guy that would farm fucking ore right out the gate. Right out the gate. Fucking thing come, or new wipe, let me go and farm. Let me go get as much iron for lockpicks. Let me go get this shit. Let me go and get that shit. I would just farm my ass off, and then I would make a shit ton of money and then just play the game. But that also made the game kind of stale to a certain point where, you know, I could play high roller and I could play this and I could play that, but it didn't really mean much. My gear didn't really mean anything in high roller because I had the money to just buy it back, so who gave a shit? So I might as well have just played Squire or just played this. I settled for playing in the 125 lobbies because I feel like that's probably the game at its most balanced, with still enough deviation for for you to express yourself and express your gear. Past 125, I think you're starting to get into murky waters, and then I think the next cap is 224. Past 224, you're just kind of fucked. You're in a shit position. But solo self-found kind of solves that. So, like, essentially, I'm just bringing this up to ask the question: is like, is the marketplace good for the game, or is it just a net negative? Because like, I really want to talk to you. I want to hear you guys defend this, because I don't want the marketplace to go, but if that's what's healthy for the game, it might be the best choice. Anyways, that being said, I've been the Dapper Rat. Thank you all for listening, and as always, farewell, ladies and gents.